Morning, everybody. John Svielka here for GAI Insights, bringing you the Gen AI news briefing, rating your top news, essential, important, or optional. We have Luda, we have Ankaj, we have Adam, we have Paul. All right, we got lots going on here today. We have everything from cool new small edge models, a couple of them, one from Microsoft, one from Liquid AI, through Rocket Mortgage using AWS tools to have a better agentic experience. So lots going on here today. Ankaj, if you could, please remember if you're watching on YouTube or to like and to subscribe. Also, if you want to follow along with the articles, GAI Insights, all one word.com/articles. You can have them right in front of you. And of course, if you want to have this in printed form after, just sign up for our newsletter. All right, Ankash, first article, please.
Sure, John. So seems like it's the small language model day today. So starting with the Liquid Foundation model. So they have introduced LFM2, which is the fastest on-device foundation models on the market.
Yeah, very interesting crew out of MIT. Actually, we know some of these people out of the MIT AI lab using a biological metaphor at the core of what their models look like. Let's see, who do we have on this one? Is this you, Adam? Yeah.
That's me. So this is really interesting news. I think it's borderline important, probably optional for me. It's a crowded space, and you would expect the latest entrant to be the leader. So in some way, it's no surprise, but it is surprising. I mean, you're talking about 350 million up to 1.2 billion parameters, which is teeny tiny. So it's impressive what they've packed in and outperforming models that are twice their size. So it's really great for that edge case. They're targeting things like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So this is something you could run on existing hardware and get some pretty good performance, which is exciting. I borderline important for people to understand how quickly finding those edge use cases is going to be important because the opportunity is very quickly coming. But overall, maybe optional because it's the next entrant in a fairly crowded space.
Yeah, interesting. So you're going to optional on this one?
Maybe important, but on the fence.
Okay, on the fence between optional and important. What do you think here, Luda?
I'm afraid I can't really help. I am also between optional and important. It's yet another model. Yes, it's really faster. Yes, it has a very interesting architecture below it, in it, right? That's why it's faster and it's smarter. So, but it's upcoming. They are really just starting. So that's why I'm probably leaning to optional. But we'll see more from them. I think we'll see more from them.
Paul, where are you on this?
It's a product announcement. We know the folks over there. We think they do a great job. It's optional. No customers yet. They have some very interesting things going on, but optional.
Yeah.
Ankaj, any support here? I was heading more toward important. What do you think?
I was on important as well, John. I think they are one of the better players in the small language model space, and seems like they are committed to improving the small language models that they have developed. So just because of those two reasons, I was important.
Yeah,
and Ankaj, want to be real precise. It's small model on device, is I think that
Right.
small model and hosted.
Well, but it works on laptops. I mean, that's why they have up to 1.2 billion, right? It's GPU, CPU, NPU.
Yeah.
It runs efficiently across the.
Yeah, but I mean, there are. Yes, it's a very it stands out among all of those other models because of its architecture, because it's faster, but it's still very early days. It's not quite clear how it would perform. It's all just metrics.
It's available now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I have friends at Liquid AI. I mean, this whole Mamba architecture, different model scales much better. I don't know. I was going to give it an important, I think, and I think people are underappreciating the edge. I think we're going to see. I think 26 for sure. The rest of 25, I think, is going to be the story of the edge because I think we're just going to see much smarter devices as people really start using these things. All right, I'm going to give this an important.
Yeah, no one can stop you, John.
I love that.
It's an important.
The whole audience is
I'm feeling the power.
Okay, important.
Guys, next.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Mistral, and Mistral has upgraded agentic coding capabilities with the new DevStral models.
Yeah, we got DevStrill, got a medium size here. The little one, work. If you go down a little farther in terms of agentic performance, keep going to the next one down, if you will. Onkaj DevStrill medium. It keep going. Yeah, so I was on this, and here we have. I mean, this is on the SWE benchmark, right? And look at how cheap it is. I mean, my goodness, price, USD per million output tokens compared to Claude and Gemini and so forth. And this issue of cost, Paul and I were just talking to a leading edge company in application just 2 days ago, and what they're finding is they put agentic. And this particular company specializes in a combination of APIs and also AI, especially agentic stuff. And they're deep in healthcare. They're kind of like the Palantir of healthcare insurers, if you will, because they do these very sophisticated models. And what they're finding is they put stuff in is that they take financial risk in the sense of they promise the customer a certain price for a number of capabilities and transactions. And this issue of cost and performance is, I think, going to be central as IT becomes more of the cost base of every organization, and AI becomes more of the IT budget. So I think this is a super important issue, but I'm going to give this an optional in the category of everyday miracles. Product announcement that for me doesn't have the same additional attributes of edge and new architecture as Liquid did. So that's what pushed me to important in the last one. So I was going to go optional, but what'd you think here, Luda?
Yeah, optional. But I want to give a shout to another company that Mistral worked with to produce this, and it's called All Hands AI, and it's a Boston company. I didn't know about them. It's a software development company focused on building open source AI agents to assist developers. So like unit tests, the various dependencies, keeping documentation up to date. And this seems like Mistral used them and gave them a visibility in their announcement. So this is cool. And we'll probably see more of them here in the Boston area. So
fascinating. Yeah, what do you think, Akash?
I think this was optional for me, John. I think Mistral has been doing some great work. We have seen a lot of announcements in the past 2 months from them, but this is not really a major announcement, just an upgrade, so optional.
Paul?
Yeah, optional. They are in the news for potentially raising $1 billion, so they are getting a lot more product. I think they're also going to start building their own dedicated data center, but definitely optional.
Yeah,
Adam, where are we headed here?
I agree with you, John, about price. I've just been evaluating Mistral OCR, which was announced about six weeks ago, because for the enterprise scale, when you're trying to do these sorts of things, that chart right there, the price per million output tokens, starts to become a very big number when you're doing this stuff at scale in enterprise, and Mistral's being very smart about the way they're going after that performance measure from a price perspective. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, but probably in this case, again, the latest models in a crowded space, go figure, they're the best ones out there.
All right, so we're going to go optional on this bad boy, but fantastic work from our friends at Mistral.
Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is a case study, comes from AWS, and talks about how Rocket companies streamline the home buying experience with Amazon Bedrock agents.
All right, Luda, you love it when they have data. What do you think here?
Yeah, I love use cases. And this is a good one. So I gave it an important. Rocket is essentially a mortgage company, but it seems like they're very customer oriented in their approach. And so they experimented and worked with the agents to increase the engagement and retention, and did a very good job. So the things that they've done, Ankash, if you can scroll down, yeah, this is a good one. So I liked the contextual awareness. So if the user is on a particular screen, the assistant would actually take it into account and be contextually aware, real time, and guided into like scheduling payments and automatically doing this while the user is on the call. So it seems like they actually provided way more capability, and they show us the architecture, even though it's on Bedrock, right? But all these pieces are doable in other platforms, so it's good, and the results are quite significant. The retention is way higher. Let me see. The efficiency is way better. The retention is well higher. So I feel that this is an important case.
All right. We're looking at important here, Paul.
It's 100% with Luda. Important.
All righty. And Ankash.
Important, John.
All right. Yeah, I like this one. I'm going to go important. The Gilberts here, the founders of Rocket Mortgage, done a fantastic job, in terms of building out this company, made themselves $1 billion or more, and really helping trying to revitalize downtown Detroit too. That's another whole thing that the Gilberts are doing. But great work here. Let's give it an important. All right, next.
Okay, the next one that we have for today comes from Microsoft, and they have introduced 5.4 mini flash reasoning.
Yeah, Microsoft here, working hard to compete with the likes of Liquid AI. They seem to be like IBM, seem to have invested a lot in smaller models as they get into this thing. What'd you think, Adam?
I think this is optional news, but the 5.4 models, we've seen Microsoft really using the reinforcement learning to fine tune them and really laser focus them and get great performance in a very specific vertical for things like manufacturing and more at the edge IoT sort of applications, not like a mobile device, but just edge applications. And I think there's going to be some great use cases. The fact that I think it's the next chart actually down from there, Ankash, if you can just go to that very next one. There you can see like what happens to the latency, even with their previous reasoning model versus the flash reasoning. When you get this input, this increase in the throughput, you can see with that mini reasoning what happens to the latency. And so there's a really big problem they're addressing here. And it's going to be great news for these edge devices. But it's almost research in a way. It's available now, but there aren't a lot of use cases that would actually be applying this anytime soon.
Gotcha. So nice technology here, but
But optional news.
Optional news. Ankash, where are you?
I was between optional and important, John, for this one. I have a question for Adam. Adam, why do you say it won't be implemented anytime soon?
Oh, I just think edge use cases for IoT, all of the governance and the readiness and everything organizations are still doing to a point where they actually have something like this out there at the extent of their infrastructure. At least my experience has been, I haven't come across a lot of customers that are at that place. It's pretty far advanced in terms of the life cycle and evolution of getting value out of generative AI use cases, I guess.
And Adam, the use case here is, having a AI LLM in a car or a washing machine or a meter on top of a, transmission device.
Or maybe it's something like with vision and you're counting lots of objects in a factory, or that's what I'm trying to understand too, is where are you going to need that throughput?
Right? In robotics.
In robotics,
in robotics, in small robots who are autonomously navigating. I think, like, I'm monitoring a company that is automating kitchens, and I mean, this can be really cool. And but what I'm not sure is, like, this is a war, right, between, we reviewed the liquid AI and this one. This is Mamba architecture, also advanced from the just transform architecture. The other one is RNN architecture, so different but faster, and they're both going at the latency and the performance. So, I mean, who wins? I don't know. And John, if you gave important to the liquid, you should give important to this one too. Just challenging.
Yeah, but I like the liquid people, and I know.
Oh, that's the teacher's pet.
But
John, this is available now in Azure AI Foundry, NVIDIA API Catalog, and Hugging Face.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, you know, it's. I reminded us this great quote from Richard Daley Jr., the ex-mayor of Chicago, when they were giving him grief about nepotism, and, you know, giving contracts to his friends and stuff. He's getting pounded by the press, and he says, "All right." He goes, "Who am I supposed to help? A stranger?" Anyway. So, all right, Akash, where are you on this?
And John, just to support, maybe important for this one, we are already seeing a lot of IoT use cases with one of the vendors that we are working with, Ventique, right? So that provides some sort of assurance that this can be implemented very soon in those kind of use cases.
I agree. I can see the light of day soon.
Important it is. All right, next.
Okay, the next one comes from Ramp, and Ramp has launched Ramp Agents, where they are letting the finance teams do finance.
Yeah, I'm on this one. I'm going to give this a super optional. It's not really even an article. It's just an announcement. The videos, I disagree with the way they define agents and things like that. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, in the sense of, you know, I think Ramp is giving a lot of capability to any kind of business, but certainly small to medium-sized businesses. And I think this, you know, when you start really looking at this and what Ramp's doing and the intelligence that's getting built into these different things, I have two thoughts. One is that, you know, there's going to be this whole notion of you know, automating more and more of the service stack that traditionally we've done by an accountant or a tax attorney or whatever goes, you know, so I think we're going to see softness in those markets. But the good news is that the entrepreneurship and the ability for a small company to have the capabilities of a large company or a medium-sized company to, you know, to do things is just going to continue. And so I'm pessimistic for labor, optimistic for capital and innovators. So, but I'm going to give this thing an optional. What do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, I'm right with you, John. Optional.
All right.
You know, I think it's the whole financial services sector has so much data already, and they're just ripe with more opportunities. But this particular one, optional.
Yeah, I mean, go back to our WINS framework. This would be one of the things that was in the crucible in terms of, you know, words, images, numbers, and sounds, and being digitized. This is, as we predicted, getting totally disrupted. Adam, where are you?
I'm on the super optional as well. I take exception also where it says it's the first autonomous finance agent purpose built for real world policy enforcement.
I know.
Literally just the other day we were looking at the use case with Brex and on Bedrock, which was a great use case that was basically the exact same solution for the exact same case. So yeah, it's great they're doing it. I think it's more of a product announcement.
And one of their top competitors, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say Ramp's pretty good in terms of their sales. Just as you know, as a small business owner here, you know, they are just pounding me to try to get us to adopt them. So I mean, their sales execution seems pretty good. Luda, optional?
Yeah, I agree with optional, but the opportunity is massive. To this particular what they focused on. For a large company, for a small one, it's an automation from the start. But for a large company, this is like unbelievable. I think this is a cool opportunity.
Okay, Ankash, we're headed for optional. You go with that?
Optional, John. Just want to highlight, anybody who is interested should see their marketing video on X. They have created an amazing video to promote this product.
Gotcha. But that's
John,
not.
before you go on, did you see Vivek had a good comment about back to the small models?
Yeah.
The 5.4. Did you guys see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, it was pretty amazing to have an LLM on a plane. Yeah, for sure, Vivek. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think, September, October this year, I think we're gonna start to see more uptick on the small models. Certainly in 26,
Yeah.
we're gonna have lots of activity. It's just gonna be amazing. All right, next.
Yep. And John, just on the small model stuff, I think OpenAI is bound to release their open source models soon. I think we will see a lot of distilled small language models from that, and that might push the adoption a lot.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that OpenAI is planning on their open source, yeah, and probably in an OpenAI kind of way, which is, the door's half
No,
open.
I think they made a big deal out of the fact that the small models they were going to be giving away, and they were going to release that.
They're going to do data too. They're going to show the data, the training data.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ankush, but I thought that was the intent, was they were going to
Right,
they were
right.
going to do a fully open source.
Okay, so they're going to do real open. Okay, real open as opposed to half open. All right. I think we had a coin new language here: quarter open, half open, 3/4 open. Anyway, so this is going to be a fully open door. All right. Well, good to hear that. I think, innovation reign, baby. All right, last article coming up.
Yep. Last one comes from LangChain and talks about how to build an agent.
Yeah, very. From usually our friends at LangChain do really lousy, articles and case studies, but here we are, something a little more detailed. Really lays out, for anybody how to build one of these things. What do you think, Luda?
Yeah, I was very excited about this as a primer of how to think about what to do, what are the steps, and who will do what when you are putting it in production, what data you need to collect. And this steps you one step at a time, and they put and they are doing the email agent, right, in a very narrow way, and actually encouraging people not to go too broad, to experiment, to collect the examples, to put it in the model and build the MVP, test it, and they go step by step, which is great. So I was unimportant on this one. If not essential, because this type of primers, people are still very confused what an agent is. And so this actually it doesn't define it per se, but it shows you. So I may be essential.
All right, Adam, you, like I, had this as important in the pregame. Where are you now?
I would consider it essential as well. It's very much like I presented on the Learning Lab about the AI journey and the steps we took to take something really from a concept through to actually having a proof of concept, and then connecting and orchestrating and scaling it and validating further. And it's kind of what I described, except much more well thought out and a lot more detailed and prescriptive. It's really, really well done. I took a look, by the way, John, and I think the last 6 or 8 case studies and announcements out of LangChain have all been optional news. So this was a refreshing. It was refreshing to see from them such a great piece, and really clever how they illustrated the really practical application of it with that email agent use case, Luda, and walk you through it every step of the process, what you would do to build that agent. It's very well illustrated.
Yeah, and it
as a primer, it could be an essential.
Right, and they didn't. Yes, they put it out into production on LangGraph platform, but they don't sell it, and it's just very nicely mentioned. I thought it was well done in that sense.
All right, Paul, we're headed for important here.
Yeah, Adam doesn't impress easily, so I'm supporting Adam's vote here. I thought he was very articulate of the scoring.
All right, well, I don't know.
I made the case for essential. Actually, I upped myself up into essential. I think, what I believe this would be useful to everyone, to leaders, to people who are building agents, to demonstrate.
It's so easy to read.
Else.
Yeah,
just
it's so easy to consume and understand how you can actually put one of these things together. I'm with you, Luda. Let's go essential. Let's overrule it.
All right.
The rebellion.
The populace is unhappy. All
Yeah,
right.
the pitchforks.
All right.
Yeah, let's charge
Ankash, we need your vote. Ankash, we need your vote.
Where are you, Ankash?
Essential for me.
Oh goodness.
Oh my God.
Send the bitcoins.
All right. Yeah, right. Send the bitcoins. Paul, what do you say? Are we at the Bastille here? And you know, they're at the ramparts.
I know it's hard to resist, John.
All right.
We're gonna give
go
some crumbs to everyone else. You got the chalk, but
all right.
all the power.
All right. We're gonna go for essential in this one. Yeah, I think it's in to make the case for it. In the and we've been highlighting the importance of hands-on and real understanding and so forth to demystify this stuff and get people to have some confidence in their ability to judge what is real and what's what's practical and what's not. So in that spirit, we'll give this an essential. All right, Ankash, can we have the tote board, please? And Paul, I know we have announcements.
Yeah, 2 announcements. One, I mean, I think I'm curious if you guys, a lot of chatter on Grok 4. Have you guys hear out there? A lot of people tested and pressed it. I don't know if people have formally.
Yeah, I missed the news last night. I was surprised to see you had given it an optional. We didn't. I wasn't on the call to debate that, but I would have said important at least.
But the news for Learning Lab on Monday, Christopher Brock is doing a case study on using Lovable. Speaking of that in the pregame, Lovable's cranking. They're recently, people estimate 84 million. It's a great prototyping tool. And Chris is really hands-on. So join us 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific, and sign up via Meetup.
All right. Anything else?
John, I would I don't think just share. I mean, you and I had a really interesting meeting yesterday about the explosion of token usage inside companies.
Yeah.
That is really moving, and that was a really interesting data point yesterday.
Yeah, it was fascinating because so this is a $30 billion. This particular company is serving a $30 billion, $35 billion healthcare insurer, and what they're seeing is, first of all, you have amazing, and what they're doing is helping with pre-authorization, claims, things like that, really complex, difficult things. And this particular company, our client Quantum Gears, as I say, they take financial risk. So if there's more inference to be done and it's more costly on the models, they absorb that risk. And so what they're very interested in usage, and because it's not cost plus like the cloud providers are. And so on that, what they're seeing is, first, you can see the patterns of the organization in terms of when people do work and things like that. And now they're starting to put in things like Power BI, fed by the models, and the senior executives want, access to the stuff, and it's creating a tremendous amount of demand. There's a couple of things that are interesting, even on the transaction stuff, that if you think about how humans interact with machines, it's very deterministic. You're putting in, your name, the transaction you're looking for, and so forth, and it just hits the database and back it comes, or an API, back it comes. And what they're finding is, if you have an agent go do that, the agent is more probabilistic. So you generate tons and tons of transactions where the agent is trying to get to a certain level of certainty. So that which used to be a single deterministic transaction is now turning into a dialogue, a conversation, very chatty, as Mamoon, the founder, was talking about. So semantics become very chatty, and that drives primary demand for inference. So there's that, and then there's the whole notion of how much time they spend optimizing both the processes and model choice and those semantics, so that they don't blow their budget and start losing money on these accounts. And we're going back and forth. They said it's just an explosion of demand, token demand, both because of this issue of the chattiness of getting to ground truth, as well as all kinds of desires. And last but not least, they're spending a lot more time, what a lot of the big guys like Bedrock and others have talked about demand shaping. So, how do you think about, what can be batch, what has to be online, and then priorities? It's a senior executive versus, someone lower down the organization. Do they get a fast lane? And so I mean, it just, I'd be curious what you think, Luda, but it reminds me of many of the things that happened with databases and operating systems early on, similar kinds of things like, back when storage was super expensive, right? The what's going to be on DASD, direct access, disk devices versus what's in RAM, and, what's going to be in fast RAM versus peripheral RAM, and, just all that stuff. It seems to be reinvented. I don't know about reinvented, but rhymes with the past. What do you think there, Luda?
I totally agree. And I think in our excitement with LLMs, people are sticking it everywhere, but it's not. If you can do a deterministic software on a particular something, do it, right? You shouldn't be using Gen AI for sure. And people do. And this will balance out.
Yes, but it's going to take a lot of work. And as Manohar talks about, I love this idea of having a meter to show how chat consumes in terms of sustainability. Absolutely, it's going to be interesting. And we know from power consumption that if you put a meter in somebody's kitchen as opposed to on the outside of the house, power consumption goes down 10 to 20%. So it's interesting. The behavioral economics here are going to be interesting. All right, and there we have it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Great AI weekend, and look forward to seeing you all Monday for the show, and then Learning Lab, because the stuff that Chris Brock's going to show is really interesting. Bye-bye now.
Bye, thank you.